Nigel, thanks for joining us on Robins TV to give a bit of an update to supporters. How are you? Feeling refreshed? Ready to go again?
Yeah, I'm in my civvies, so I'm okay. It's a very busy time for us. It doesn't feel that, I think, for our fans, and I think it's also it's important to try and give our public some sort of idea of what's happening, because it's been it appears to be slow at the moment, but it's just the nature of where the industry is at. And I think it's when I was told recently how many of our fans have renewed their season cards, I mean, it was amazing, really. We've got 12,000 plus. And I think for them to show faith in us as a club is important. And I think it's also important for them to know that we are doing everything that we can behind the scenes to at least get the foundations right for this is a big season for us in terms of coming off the back of a season in which, if I'm honest, if it had gone on another month, we'd probably get relegated. That's the reality of where we were, and so it's important that we get the rebuild right, and that the people that come in give us a balance between it being long-term investments for us as a club, but also to some players may come in to give us the help shape the identity of what we need to be moving forward. So it's not easy. It's certainly not easy this summer to I think at least verbalise for fans what it looks like. It's going to be a tough one, but we'll do everything we can to get it right.
Where are we up to then, Nigel? We released 11 players. It's obviously a big challenge to rebuild or build that squad.
Yeah.
So in terms of recruitment and the transfer market itself, can you give supporters a flavour of what it looks like at the moment?
Well, look, so 11 released, and Cess going back to Fulham is 12, and then you got Andi, Weimann, and Danny Simpson, who hopefully we'll secure them in the next week or so. So look, it could be 14 gone. So that's the reality of it. But if I get 5 players that I want in, I'll be happy. And so the bottom line is that we will operate with a smaller squad this year, because I don't want to populate the squad this coming season with players who I don't think are motivated to be here. So I'm not setting the bar low, far from it. What I'm trying to do is at least at the moment, or what we are trying to do is to sort of recalibrate where we are as a football club. And I think it's important to the signings that we make in this first window are going to be important for the present, but also the longer term.
Are you comfortable in terms of how things are progressing from a timescale point of view? Obviously, you've got to bring some players, and you talked about 5 then, Nigel. Are you kind of sort of thinking with every day that goes past, the pressure comes on a bit, or?
Okay, so I'm in my civvies today, so I can talk a bit more freely. I'm not. Look, I am sometimes impatient, of course. I think it's important to try to do some early business, just because it's I think it sends the right messages, but also pre-season, the start of pre-season is not too far away now. And I would like to have 11v11s very early on. So just from a practical point of view, I think it's always trying to strike the balance. And I spoke with John today. We've had a really good chat, quite an informal chat, and both of our observations are very much along the lines of how unusual this window is going to be. I think there's a reluctance from a lot of people to do business. I think there is a recalibration going on within the industry in terms of how agents maybe see the financial aspects of doing deals. It's that we can't get away from the fact that the pandemic has had an impact globally, but actually just for football in itself, I don't think really that we've had the opportunity to look at what it's really going to mean. So, yeah, interesting times.
Now, unusual transfer window, is that hesitancy from clubs to commit? Is that player wages having to be a bit more tempered?
Look, let's be honest. We need to bring our wage bill down. So I'm not going to hide from saying, from talking about that. I think the industry needs to have a look at what the baseline parameters are. For us as a club, I mean, we have, you've been here a lot longer than me. We've been able to function still in the format really for the last 12, 15 months in more or less the same way. I don't think too many people have either lost their jobs or been furloughed. It's been, we as a club have been able to relocate ourselves here. There's a lot of investment, but it's I suppose it's the easy thing is to just presume that everything goes on as normal. But the bottom line is that it's important for us to be as efficient as we can as a club. Unfortunately, on the pitch, we've certainly not been that, and that is where we're ultimately judged. And so some people might look at a mass exodus of players as being a difficult time, but actually I try and frame it in a different way and say, well, look, it's a chance for us to see what we've got, to recruit in the right areas, and we need to be competitive. Of course we can, and ultimately we want to get to the Premier League, but you've got to start somewhere, and so I see this as a chance to, although this is a difficult window and things movement is a bit slow at the moment, but it's understandable in some ways. But for me, it's still an opportunity rather than a problem.
Are you very clear in your own mind about which positions and the type of players that you need?
Yeah. Well, the type of players, it's the type of people, firstly, and they've got to be good enough in the positions. I want to build from the back. Simple.
Is that because you were a defender yourself, or
I wasn't a goalkeeper, but I think we're really, very blessed in the goalkeeping position. I'd like 2 centre-backs, I'd like 2 central midfield players, I'd like somebody to stick the ball in the back of the net. And so if you look at it like that, that's 5 players, isn't it? So, but that's not to say that we don't do loans and things like that. So there is scope for us to make changes, and I think although I'm somebody who likes to do business early, I like to have a squad together for pre-season, because it's the only, in the Championship, it's the only opportunity you have to work with a group of players on the training field, which is why I don't like too many pre-season games. It's important to get the training time right. But again, I think there's got to be a flexibility about how I approach it as well this year, because I also realise that things aren't going to happen in the time frame that I want.
You will have players back next week.
Yep.
And it is probably the first time in 2 years that they will have had a break because of COVID affecting the end of last season and the start of the subsequent one.
Yeah, but if we worked in football last year, there was a break which was look, it's just different. I know it's back-to-back seasons, or it feels like back-to-back seasons, and the break between seasons gets smaller. But look, players are athletes these days, or should be. So hopefully they will come back with the bit between their teeth. So we have testing days next week.
Thursday, Friday next week? Thursday, Friday next week?
Yeah. So 2 testing days, and if they meet the requirements, then they get another week off, and if they don't, they're in. So yeah, simple.
And then there's a pre-season camp at Loughborough University.
Yeah.
Those 5 days, what do you like to achieve in that particular trip?
Well, I would prefer to go abroad, if I'm honest, but we can't. But I think just the simple exercise of being off-site, being somewhere different, means that we as a group, players and staff alike, have to spend more time together and live together. And I think it's always an opportunity to get to know people, to use a cliche, to bond, whatever. And it just means that the training day you can extend, so we'll probably get 3 sessions a day in, and which might amuse some of our players, but they'll get used to it.
You talked about getting to know new people. Richard Gould, who starts as the new chief executive.
Yeah.
How's that relationship going? And
Yeah.
what are the lines of responsibility? I suppose one of the questions fans like to ask, or obviously keen to know as well, is, who does what, who's responsible, say for instance in terms of recruitment, etc. So how is that going along?
Okay, so recruitment is always an area which people feel the need to talk about, and the reality is it crosses. There's so many people involved, and I think, look, so obviously Mark leaving to go to Ipswich and beyond is a big shift from how we've worked before, and Richard coming in at Richard comes in at a time which is probably going to be the busiest time for anybody to take over that role. So it's not straightforward, but I think we have a good recruitment team here. We have football knowledge within the coaching staff, and I think that's the most important thing. And what is key to us as a club is that we don't rush things at the moment. So we don't fall into the trap of making forced decisions just because there is a necessity, because Mark has left. Richard is clearly a very I've not got to know him too well yet, but He's been here before. The club's very important to him as well. He's had a very successful career at Surrey as well. He's done a fabulous job there. So, you know, we will get to know each other in time, no doubt. And he's really had to come in at the sharp end at the moment and get on with trying to do deals, which, hey, you can ask him about how that's going. But no, I mean, we'll be fine because we have a shared goal, and that is to make the club successful. So I think what's important in all of this is that that we at least try and fulfill our own obligations in terms of our jobs. Richard is dealing with the stuff that I don't like dealing with, and that is I don't deal with agents.
One person who you do know is Dave Rennie.
Yeah.
What will Dave bring?
So he's a friend of mine, but that's not the reason he's here. He's the best person I've worked with in the medical profession, and he brings an intelligence and which is and a social intelligence, which is really key to how we shape the workplace. So yeah, I'm delighted he's here.
And how fundamental was he to?
Well, he'll keep the players fit, which
Yes.
is really what I'm looking for. I want a fit squad. We need a robust and available squad. And I think in his 20 plus years at Leicester, the availability of players has been very, very high. So, and our availability here has been 25% lower than it should be. So it's, you know, the statistics are, and that's for a multitude of reasons. That's not pointing fingers. It's just a recognition of what the facts are. We have very capable staff here, and I think the back-to-back seasons has played a role in availability. So it's you know, I don't feel that it's about being it is about pointing finger at people. It's just about how we move from A to B, and but you know, you need to know where A is before you can move to B. So I think for us as a football club, there's a lot of soul searching. We've had to do a lot of thinking about where we are, facing up to a few harsh facts in terms of the reality of our current situation. And I just don't believe in trying to give people false hopes. I think it's about being realistic. We have sometimes flattered to deceive. I would rather us just be what we are. At the end of the season, we were poor, so I don't want us to be that again.
Will there be any more staff coming in, Nigel, in terms of, say, footballing directors, sporting directors, other members of the team, etc.?
No, I don't. Well, at the moment, I would say no. I think there is, again, you know, I said to you, I spoke to John earlier. We've discussed where I think, from my own perspective, where I see us being at the moment. Sometimes the solutions are already here, and I think what we have to do is look at the dynamics of how things work and then make decisions from there. So I think sometimes there is an external pressure to make appointments maybe, or to to meet other people's expectations. I think we're okay at the moment. I think we know what we're looking for, player-wise. Again, with the recruitment staff, again today, I had a conversation to say, look, just because people are asking questions doesn't mean our targets change. It remains as we are. We're trying to do this, this, and this, and it's not reacting to what people necessarily want externally. So, but as I said to you earlier, I think it's really important for us to at least be visible and transparent with our public, because it's the close, right, our fans have not been with us for a long time now, and so they can't even vent their frustrations by watching us, and so when the off season comes, there's more, there's another period of time where there's lack of clarity, and I think it's important for us to at least verbalise what's happening.
As you say, 15 months or so without being able to come and watch,
yeah.
But 12,000 plus have renewed their season cards. Does that give you a lot of encouragement?
Yeah, and yeah, it does, and added pressure, which is great, which is what we want. So I think it's unbelievable, really, all I can say is that we need to repay the fans' faith in us. I think that's really important, that they at least believe in us. So best way to do that is to play winning football. But yeah.
And how much do you think football has missed the fans as well?
Well, do you know something? As somebody who's always been a bit of a miserable bugger in the public domain, I even me didn't realise how much of a miss it is. I think the atmosphere, I mean, I don't particularly enjoy match days with no public there, whether it's abuse or praise. It's a very different experience. So, and do you know something? I think for the players as well, there have been some players who have benefited from, the ones who can't handle the pressure of playing in front of fans have probably done okay. But there's so many of the players out there who maybe some of our fans have criticised this year because of the performance has not been up to what they would expect. But it's amazing how some players actually can't perform without an atmosphere. It's a really interesting. It's an interesting thing to consider, actually.
And finally, we've got 5 pre-season games, but when that second week in August comes round, how much are you looking forward to that?
Well, it will be a mixture of. I'll be looking forward to it just from I don't look at the game in the same way as maybe a fan does, but it's where the real work starts. The pre-season games for me are training sessions. They're not anything other than that. They are an opportunity for the players to get themselves into the right frame of mind and the right physically. Look, the modern player should be fit. Pre-season's not about getting fit anymore. Pre-season is about fine-tuning, really. So the pre-season games are training sessions, and I expect the players to look at games in that way. So for them, there are opportunities for them to be, in my mind, to be picked. So that's the challenge for them. When the season starts, of course, hey, and it feels as though it's coming around pretty quickly, but it's another championship season in which we've seen, again, amazing stories. Last season, two teams getting automatically promoted who came down, and Brentford realising their dream. So it's always it's always an opportunity. It's an incredibly tough division to be successful in, and as we found ourselves at the back end of last season, it's ruthless. So the only thing you can take care of is yourselves, and if you don't do that, then you deserve what you get. So it's up to us to make sure that we get our preparation right, and that we look forward to the challenge. Simple as that.